Saint Juan Macius is a saint dear to the heart of Dominicans. To the chorus of Dominican saints, this humble lay brother adds his characteristic notes of contemplation and spiritual friendship, a living example of the Dominican motto, to contemplate and to give to others the fruits of our contemplation. Let us learn his story today. Juan Macius was born on March 2nd, 1585, in a small village in southwestern Spain. His parents were poor farmers. Both died when Juan and his sister Agnes were young. The two children were raised by their uncle, whose last name, Macius, they took as their own. Juan took care of the sheep when he was still a child. In the time spent with his sheep, he developed a love for the rosary. When he was 16, Juan met a Dominican priest while attending Mass in a neighboring village. This experience made a new impression on Juan and opened his heart to the possibility of a Dominican vocation. Unlike most young people, Juan received another special grace. It is said that as he began to seek God's will for his life, he was frequently visited by the Blessed Virgin Mary and by his patron, Saint John the Evangelist. At the age of 25, Macius then started working with a wealthy businessman who offered him an opportunity to travel to South America. They left Spain and eventually settled in Peru. It was in its capital, Lima, that he entered the Order of St. Dominic in 1622, at the age of about 37. He entered as a lay brother, a non-ordained friar who, instead of preaching, would do the manual labor necessary in the monastery. He served as porter, which kept him busy, but meant that he was in contact with the poor who came to the friars for help. Besides his cheerful disposition and encouraging manner, Juan Macius became known for the sometimes miraculous nature of his service to the poor. He became adept at begging for the poor, always managing to find enough for the more than 200 people who came daily for help. In this, he was helped by his companion, a donkey, who accompanied him daily on his begging rounds and carried home the donations of food. One day, perhaps to get some time for prayer, he decided the donkey could carry out this task alone. So off it went every day, doing the rounds with a little sign asking for donations. If donors were tardy, a few loud hee-haws drew attention to the need and brought prompt response. It became a very popular feature of the streets of Lima. On occasion, his friend and patron Saint John went out collecting alms for him. John Macius is well known for his close friendship with another Dominican saint, Martin de Porres. The two saints often met on their daily rounds of the city and became close spiritual friends as well. John frequently picked up the sick and the homeless from the street and brought them back to his room and put them in his own bed. One day, he found a man who had been wounded and was clearly dying, so he brought him home to his own room. The prior corrected him for disobedience. Juan responded with ironic humility. "I beg pardon, Father, but you must instruct me properly, because I did not know that the duty of obedience is above the duty of charity." Rays of light streamed from the Blessed's face as he taught the catechism to the poor or prayed by himself in the gatehouse. He is said to have liberated more than 1 million souls from purgatory, many of whom came back while he was at prayer to thank him for his help. He died on September 16, 1645, at the age of 60. Witnesses to his life reported many miracles supposedly happening through the cause of the late saint. John Macius has a feast day on September 18th. Friends, our 500th video is almost here. 500 stories of teaching, praying, and protecting young hearts in Christ. But I need to tell you the truth. This mission is at risk. Every episode costs real money, gear, editing, animation, music, and YouTube paid us almost zero in 2025. You can see the screenshot. We've carried it this far by faith and sacrifice, but we cannot keep going alone. Meanwhile, our children are surrounded by voices that pull them away from faith and truth. If ever there was a time to stand up, it's now. Please help us cross this milestone and keep going. You can donate even $2 today, less than your cup of coffee, and this will keep the channel alive tomorrow. Stand with us right now. Become a monthly supporter on Patreon, or make a one-time gift through PayPal. Links are in the description and in the pinned comment below. From my heart, don't wait. Your yes today helps keep Christ at the center of a child's life. Little is known about Saint Ephigenia outside these legends, and for this reason, she is not included on the general liturgical calendar. She was originally in the Roman Martyrology, and her feast was celebrated on the same day as Saint Matthew, September 21st. Iphigenia, or Ephigenia, was born a princess to the royal house of Ethiopia in the 1st century. She lived in a grand palace with her family, surrounded by lush gardens and sparkling fountains. Ephigenia was known for her kindness, intelligence, and a deep desire to help others. This was the time when Saint Matthew arrived in Ethiopia, which was, at the time, full of pagans. Matthew was one of Jesus' 12 apostles. Though we know little for certain about the events that transpired, an idea of her conversion and the efforts of the apostle can be garnered from the Golden Legend, a medieval collection of stories about the many saints and heroes of the Catholic Church. This legend gives detail to Saint Matthew's travels in Africa. His story is closely bound to the Princess Ephigenia. He spoke to the people about Jesus and his teachings. Many people were inspired by Matthew's words, including Princess Ephigenia. She felt a strong calling to follow Jesus and live a life dedicated to helping others. Ephigenia decided she wanted to devote her life to God. She asked Saint Matthew to baptize her, and he gladly did. She then chose to live a simple life, giving up her royal luxuries to serve the poor and the sick. She also gathered other young women who wanted to live a holy life, and together they formed a small community dedicated to prayer and charity. However, not everyone was happy with Ephigenia's decision. Hyrtacus, a powerful and ambitious man, wanted to marry Ephigenia because he desired to become king. He thought that by marrying her, he could gain control of the kingdom. When Hyrtacus proposed to her, Ephigenia told him that she had vowed to remain dedicated to God and refused his proposal. When Ephigenia refused him, he was advised to seek the help of Apostle Matthew, as he was close to her. The king besought the apostle to persuade Ephigenia to relent to his wishes. In response, Matthew told Herdicus to attend Mass the next day. The king assumed that St. Matthew would convince Ephigenia to marry him there. Herdicus arrived the next day at the Mass expecting the good news. Matthew met him and explained that she was already espoused to the eternal king, and so could not be forced by Herdicus. Herdicus, raged at this rebuttal, left the church in a fury. When he reached back, he ordered his swordsmen to slay St. Matthew. And thus it happened. Matthew was kneeling before the altar after Mass. The king's swordsman entered, and the apostle was martyred. Seeking to further avenge himself, King Herdicus then ordered Ephigenia's convent to be burned. The fires were starting to engulf the building when this noble abbess prayed for help to her preceptor, St. Matthew. The apostle duly appeared. He warded off the flames from the house, and everyone was safe. The fire by now had swept to the royal palace and burned it to the ground. The king and only his son barely managed to escape. Thereupon, the king's son was seized by the devil and sped to the apostle's tomb, loudly proclaiming his father's sins, while the infamous father was stricken with an incurable leprosy and killed himself with his own sword. The people then chose Ephigenia's brother, who had been baptized by the apostle, to be their king. He enhanced the Christian worship lavishly and filled the whole province of Egypt with the churches of Christ. Beyond her relationship to St. Matthew and his martyrdom in Ethiopia, little is known about St. Ephigenia. Today, many Brazilian churches are dedicated to St. Ephigenia, and processions honoring her are common. Devotion to this African saint was also brought to Peru. She has been chosen as the patron saint of many African Brazilian brotherhoods and arts. Let the life of Saint Ephigenia inspire us with the same fervor and fidelity to our vocations. Like her, let us also strive for perfection and have no hesitation to have recourse to the saints, whose prayers before God so greatly excel our own. Let us give thanks to the great apostle St. Matthew for his evangelization of Africa and bringing us such examples of illustrious piety to emulate.